Halloween, All Hallows Eve, or All Saints' Eve, is a celebration observed in many countries on the 31st of October, the eve of the Western Christian feast of All Saints' Day. It begins the observance of All Hallowtide, the time in the liturgical year dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, martyrs, and all the faithful departed. This celebration, or day, if you will, owes its roots way back in the mists of time. Many of the things that we associate with Halloween, like the jack-o'-lantern that we see here, and the horrific masks, a lot of that comes from paganism and our earlier ancestors, and quite a bit of it, including the jack-o'-lantern, owes its roots in Irish history. It's said that this is the time when the veil between our world and the next is at its thinnest, and we live in a far less religious age and a far less superstitious age. But I'd like to take you back to an era and a tradition when our ancestors were very superstitious people. The medieval to Tudor era, people believed in elves, goblins and ghosts, and they believed that All Hallows Eve was a dangerous time of the year, when not only the spirits of their loved ones and departed could maybe be easily reached, or the prayers could easily reach them, they also believed that the bad would come with that as well. Hence why people wore these horrific masks, to try and blend in with what they believed may be around, so it would leave them alone. The jack-o'-lantern, with its awful face, put in the window to frighten away. And the tradition we're going to start off with is something that was done in many parishes for many years. On All Hallows Eve, they would ring their bells backwards to disturb and frighten evil spirits away. And that's what we're going to ring our first of our Halloween events in with. And after that, you'll join me for the first of our ghost stories and our oldest ghost. So off we go for an old Halloween tradition. And very much in that Halloween medieval tradition, we shall do the same thing, and that shall call in our Halloween night. Hello ladies and gents, and you join me from one of London's oldest haunted locations. We're in Cloth Fair Smithfield, and we're going to be looking at the Church of St Bartholomew the Great first. We're in no particular date order with our ghosts this evening. We go from the medieval period to the Georgian and Victorian, and back to the latter medieval and Tudor period with our ghosts, and then we go back to the Victorian era in my own area. So hope you're all going to enjoy this one. It may be a part 1 and part 2. We'll see how long it goes. But yeah, we're at Smithfield, and we're at a very famously haunted London location now. This is the gatehouse to the Church of St Bartholomew the Great, where I'm going to take you now. Already pre-filmed my inside filming because the church is closed. This is the Church of St Bartholomew the Great. The whole complex was founded by Prior Rahere, who founded this church, the hospital, St Bart's Hospital, and the little church of St Bartholomew the Less. But our ghost is one of London's oldest, and he stayed resting for a long time, and it is Prior Rahere himself who lies resting inside here. He was of course buried in his own era when he died. His tomb was restored in Victorian times, and something was removed from his tomb that apparently and clearly annoyed Prior Rahere enough to stir up his ghost, which has been seen here ever since. So join me inside the church for that little bit of the story. And our most famous ghost of all is going to feature in the Smithfield Cloth Fair area is Prior Rahere. Prior Rahere was a courtier, possibly a jester to King Henry I. He founded the entire church complex of St Bartholomew the Great that we're in now, the hospital, and St Bartholomew the Less. And Prior Rahere's ghost rested many years peacefully until his tomb was restored in Victorian times. When the tomb was restored, they opened it up and had a look at Prior Rahere himself. Anyway, one of the workmen took one of the sandals off of his feet, and ever since then, the ghost of Prior Rahere is said to wander the church angrily looking for his missing sandal. Some say that it was put back, and some say not, but that's not known. But what has been documented is that his ghost has been seen many occasions wandering around, not looking pleased. So that's our first most famous one, and on to the next one. Well, as we leave Prior Rahere's ghost now and walk through the apparently as well haunted churchyard, mustn't miss the, turn my flash on, that's better, William Wallace Memorial. William Wallace is one of the most famous people executed at Smithfield, or Smoothfield, as you will learn in our next part of the video. We're going to take a slow walk through this churchyard. There's an interesting ceremony that takes place here every year on Maundy Thursday. An old bachelor man who was frightened of being forgotten left instructions and money enough in his will that every year on Maundy, I think it's sixpences or shillings, and hot cross buns are placed on his tomb, and it's a ceremony that's still performed today. I think the choir boys take place now, and the shillings have been replaced probably with 5 or 10 pences. But that's the tomb, and this is the man that was frightened of being forgotten. What do I say? I wonder if that was an orb. But for our next haunted location, I zap us off to the Georgian era and Victorian era of this area. Bear in mind that St Bartholomew's Hospital is very nearby, and until the early Victorian era and the Anatomy Act, there were very few, should we say, corpses to practice anatomy on. and that was the height of the Body-snatcher era. And this pub, the Rising Sun pub, is a replacement of its predecessor. But the original pub that was here is said to have been frequented by body-snatchers, and they would, of course, apparently it was a ruse type thing, that they would get certain particular people inside, they'd get them drunk, and they'd never be seen alive again. And the doctors, students from St Bart's Hospital would come and collect the bodies. So yeah, this is a very, very haunted London location, another pub. I've covered this one before, the inside of it. It's very busy inside now. It's Halloween night, but it's just another, we're visiting some of the haunted locations of London. So there we are, and I'll take you around here. This is London, the City of London's oldest standing house. It was in the Great Fire of London. Everything pretty much was burned. This was protected by the old walls of the Priory, which were still standing at the time. It's been much restored in our own recent time, but yeah, this is London's oldest standing timber frame house from before the Great Fire of London. So just think of the history that's seen and the ghosts that it holds as well. But we're going to walk around here. One of London's little alleyways. And in this house, Sir John Betjeman, 1906 to 1984, poet laureate, lived here, up there. So we're visiting past Londoners and ghosts this evening. This is just a little highlights tour, this bit really. In Cloth Fair and Smithfield, the most in-depth bit we got was Prior Rahere's tomb inside the church. But London has lots of these little tucked away alleyways. And it will take us out onto here. I'm going to pause you a sec. Uber food delivery driver, well, bike, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, we're coming out onto the Rising Sun pub now. This is a little alleyway that goes just behind the back of the pub. There's nothing major here. This is the Rising Sun. It's up there, and you can see the church there. And it's very near the hospital. And as I say, body-snatcher era. But this alleyway here is said to be quite haunted. I've been down it a good few times and never seen anything. But these are interesting little curios here. Some people say that they're gravestones, and some say that they're parish boundary markers. But who knows? Some say that the gravestones of executed people, executed at Smithfield. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. They're more than likely parish boundary markers. But someone has graffitied 2018 into that one. Yeah, this alleyway is said to be haunted. There have been apparently heard screams down this alleyway over the years, and they're said to be the screams of the victims that became victims of the body-snatchers. So yeah, this is the Rising Sun Body-snatcher pub, and that's our last little Cloth Fair Smithfield location. Sorry, good pub. And I'll be taking you off to Plaistow now, so for a little story that's not much known about. Plaistow Ghost, which isn't a real ghost, but it's quite amusing. So off we go. Rotunda Gardens, Smithfield. Very, very near to the Church of St Bartholomew the Great, which is just through there. And this is believed to be the location of the Smithfield executions. Most famously William Wallace, and more notoriously as well, the Smithfield burnings under Bloody Mary, Queen Mary I, the religious persecutions known as the Marian persecutions, and the Smithfield martyrs. They do say that this little spot is quite haunted. The Smithfield area and Cloth Fair, where we are, between St Bartholomew's the Great, the Rising Sun pub, this little area here, they do say that it is very haunted. And it isn't surprising really, if you believe in that sort of thing. It isn't surprising that a place like this would be haunted. There is Smithfield Meat Market. Smithfield gets its name from Smooth Field, very famous location, London location, for various reasons or other. Meat, executions, A lot of people had to camp out here when the Great Fire of London happened and their homes were burned. So yeah, we're having a little wander around. And then from here, we'll be back to my end of London, East London, Plaistow, for a Victorian ghost story of sorts. More than likely drunken Londoners that didn't turn out to be a ghost whatsoever, but there we are, known as the Plaistow Ghost. A little known London ghost story, but interesting and amusing nonetheless. So yeah, we've left St Bartholomew the Great and Priory here. We've left the Smithfield, William Wallace and the Martyrs, and we are now off back up to my end of London in Plaistow. So join me there, ladies and gents, for our last ghostly location of the evening. I hope you all enjoyed that, our little ghostly wander around Cloth Fair Smithfield. Now join me for part 2 and in Plaistow for the Plaistow Ghost and grave robbing, a nasty little incident, but something I've chosen to cover on Halloween. So skip on over to part 2 and you can see that.